Hello, my name is Brenda Robinson. I think that I have met many of you in conferences or training sessions in the past, and I wanted to come back and give you a couple of little positive messages to help carry us through this challenging era that we're in. And so, in the nature of that, this positive message is about communicating positively for positive results. Now, I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I have commented that Canadians have a tendency to have a bit of a problem focus in their communication. And you know us. If you tell a Canadian a bad weather story, they'll tell you a worse weather story. If you tell a Canadian about a trip you had up to Edmonton, they'll tell you theirs was worse. And so we really have to break the habit of talking about problems and try to develop a new habit of talking about solutions. So I'm changing some of the ways that I communicate. I have quit asking people, "How are you?" Because you know what I have found? When you reach my age and you say to people, "How are you?" their tendency is to tell you all their problems. And I get to hear about the bad cold they had, maybe about their hemorrhoids, who knows? But I don't want to hear those things. And so now I've started to say to people, "Are you keeping well? Are things going well for you?" And I find that when I put the word well in there, it prompts people to think of a more positive answer. And so I'm changing some of the ways that I reach out to people, some of the things that I say, and some of the ways that I generate positive communications. And so I'm looking after the first 8 words in everything that I say. Because I remember this happening to me. I remember applying for a job, and I got the letter that said, "We regret to inform you." Did I have to read the rest of the letter? Oh, no. I knew what the answer was, and I probably ripped it up and threw a hissy fit and talked about how it doesn't matter what you do over there, it's not what you know, it's who you know, rah, 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 rah. Because when we hear negative starts, we tend to start thinking negatively. And so now, if I'm responding to somebody who's applying for a job, I will probably say to them, "Thank you so much for all of the time and energy that you put into your application. We enjoyed reading about your experience." And then I haven't stimulated them to think negatively about themselves or me or the process. But Canadians have an "I'm sorry" habit. And we've all got it, and oh my gosh, do we love to apologize. In fact, I was in a store the other night looking for a pair of runners, and I found a pair just like I wanted, but they weren't there in my size. I went over to the person whose badge said service representative, and I said, "Excuse me, do you have these runners in a size 8 or even something like them in a size 8? And his response, very typical response, he said, "I'm sorry, all we have is out there." And I found that that didn't stimulate me to take any positive action. In fact, I put those runners down in the wrong place to punish them for not having them. And on my way out of the store, I said to my friend, "Don't go in there, they never have anything in our size." Because negative communication stimulates negative communication. And so I'm on a bit of a challenge for myself and challenging other people to change the way we start things, the way we begin things. And I'm really paying attention now to my first 8 words. And I don't apologize. In fact, I try to do something else that I'm going to encourage you to do. I try to focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do. And sometimes that happens to you. I was talking actually to a bus driver the other day who said to me, he said, "Every day that kid comes on the bus and says, 'Can I sit in the back?' And every day I say to that kid, 'No, you can't sit in the back.' And he said, 'We're not making any progress at all.' And I said, 'Well, maybe you could suggest to him where he could sit. Maybe you could say, well, today you could either sit with David or you could sit with Aaron. Which would you like to do?' And you know what I think? I think we might change some of that behavior. Because I think that when people are told what not to do, they very often do it. And so I'm challenging you to think. Instead of saying we can't, let's talk about what we can. Instead of saying we don't, let's talk about what we do. Because we may be Canadians, but we can change. And in this challenging era, we need to challenge others to think about what they can do, what's next, what will work, and how we can do that together. Be the positive one. Start asking people, are you well? Thank you so much for listening. It's a little message. I think it's an important message, and it may challenge you to think about communicating differently. Take care. Bye-bye.